War brings out the worst in human nature and the best. Swordmaster BARRI. Welcome friends to another Dune video. Today we will look at Jool Noret, whose students founded the Ginaz Sword School where Duncan Idaho was trained, and we will look at one of Jool Noret's greatest feats. Spoilers for the Machine Crusade throughout, let's get into it. During the Butlerian Jihad, the fleet of Primero Harkonnen were getting ready to face warships above Ix, a world occupied by Omnius, leader of the machines. The Swordmaster Jool Noret and a small team of commandos fought a pitched battle in the caves to save Ix. Their orders from Primero was to reach the central computer of Ix, where Omnius was, and use the warhead there to destroy him. There would be 5 teams in the hope that one could make it. The bombs will release a local pulse with the target of wiping out all gel circuitry brains, those that are used by Omnius and his fellow mechs. There will be some human death, but it will be minimized. Jool Noret volunteered first. Now on the planet, Noret threw the last scrambler grenade he had towards a group of assassin robots coming towards him. His throw was good, and the hulks fell to the ground, their spark gone. Jool wished he could kill the robots, one by one, with his sword. Noret led the charge, though he was not in command of the commandos. Others stopped to kick the downed robots they passed. Noret said to use your energy to fight the real enemy. Their guide, a man of Ix, had lived on the planet and avoided the robots for 6 months. The next robots they found had taken human hostages. The screams of them could be heard, but where a human might use them to gain some advantage, here the robots just tore them apart. Noret and his group rushed them. The robots fired up their weapons with flickering flames and explosives ready to launch. The commando officer gave an order, and the personal shields of each was activated. They formed a barrier, but these are early shields and they will not last for a long time. The robots fired their rounds, which damaged the area around them, but left the commandos untouched. Then, when the robots had used their first projectiles, the soldiers moved out of the way for Noret, and he fired a heavy launcher into the robots. The ceiling began to fall down, and Noret kept firing, not dodging or using the shield to protect himself, just firing again and again, until the robots were all destroyed. You really get his fanatical drive and devotion in these first minutes to the cause of the jihad. They carried on, and due to the fighting, the tunnel collapsed behind them. Noret shouted at those showing dismay. "The robots will not be able to chase after us," he said. Behind the group of fighters, warhead engineers carried the atomic bomb. It was large enough to wipe out a big part of the city Omnius had built, and they reached the dome, the secure part and centre of the Evermind. This next part is taken directly from the book describing what's seen. Machinery, pipes, ducting and coolant cylinders turned the walls and ceiling into an industrial horror. Once the warhead arrived, the team got to work. Noret looked around. Sonorous electrical pulses throbbed through the machinery. In the centre of the chamber, a glowing pedestal encased the Gelsphere computer mind. Noret, on guard, activated his personal shield, whilst one of the engineers called a pickup shuttle for them. And they hear back at the same time that they are the only team left out of the 5 dispatched, the last hope for Ix. Before they could activate the bomb, the area around them changed, turning into guns, projectile launchers and other weapons. Noret grabbed their guide, Handon. Whilst the others were cut down, their guide pulls away from him and asks for protection from Omnius the Evermind. Noret, for the betrayal, breaks his legs and pulls him back into the protection of his personal shield. With the others dead, the projectiles tried to pierce Noret's shield. The shield protected him, but also stopped him firing back. He was the only one left. The warhead was not damaged. Noret asks why their guide betrayed them. The man says the mechs had said they would make him into a Neo-Cymech, mostly machine but partly human and immortal. Noret says the man won't live through the next few minutes. Noret moved with the man towards the warhead, whilst Omnius tells Noret he has no chance of success, and Noret could feel the shield protecting him getting hotter. He tied up the traitor with a cable and reached through the shield to take a fallen comrade's shield generator, and this seemed to reinforce his own. And Noret completes the warhead activation sequence, giving it an 8-minute countdown. He then ties the traitor to the warhead and says, "Watch this for me," and blasts the door open and races out, and it is then his replacement personal shield dies. He pushes aside combat mechs that try to block his path. At one he leapt and kicked with enough power to take a robot's head off. He had trained with one for a long time, and with speed he broke out into the cool air of Ix, and he looked up to see coloured flashes from space, a battle, and also sees the rescue shuttle, and behind him he hears reinforcements beginning to march out. The shuttle reached him, and he dove into it, and it roared into the sky. Noret takes a moment to feel relief, and he looked away as the bomb goes off, and a dazzling nova burst wiped out everything. It would leave behind only a crater, and the people of Ix were now free. He had done his part, and now the Jihad battleships must do theirs. Noret had proved he was worthy of being a mercenary of Ginaz, but it was only a start. Now I turn this over to you. What do you think to Noret's daring raid? How do you feel about the technology being so different to the one portrayed in Frank Herbert's novels? Has Omnius offered to transform you into a Neo-Cymech? Comment down below.